Hi, Norman with iSave Tractors here. In this video, we're going to build a quick attach snowplow for the front end loader of our garden tractor.
Okay, before we begin, I need to weld welding hooks onto the front end loader of our tractor. To do the prep work, I cut out these two pieces of flat bar to 2" by 3" rectangles. I've also have these two 3/8" weld-on hooks. I prepared them by grinding down the bottom to bare metal, and I've done the same to the tops of these pieces of flat. What I'm going to do is I'm going to weld this welding hook onto this piece of metal right here, and then I'm going to weld the whole thing to the bucket. The reason I do that is when I weld it onto this larger piece of 1/4" steel, it helps spread out the load. So in the future, if I decide to hook on something heavy, all of the pressure is spread out among this 2" by 3" piece of steel. Let's do it.
Here I am tacking in this welding hook to that piece of plate I mentioned before. I'm going to be welding these with 3 passes on every side of this hook to make sure I get really good fusion in all the metal. I am once again using a 140 amp 120 volt inverter flux cord based welding wire. That's a mouthful. And as you'll see throughout all the projects I've been doing, at least in this time period, this welder does a fantastic job, and it's perfect for all of the small tractor enthusiasts out there. Now here we go into welding the hook assembly to the bucket itself. I begin by tacking everything in place, and then I go and begin to run my beads everywhere. It's important to note that every time I make a weld, whether it's a tack or something else, I immediately clean off all of the slag left in place from the flux core welding process. You want to make sure you clean that all off with a good wire brush and a chipping hammer. If you have a good weld and good heat settings and are using good wire, I typically can just scrape everything off with a welding brush, and I very rarely need to use the chipping hammer. But it is good to keep both of them nearby, just in case. Now I'm beginning to tack in and weld this piece of 3/16" thick, and I believe it's a 2" wide flat bar along the top of the bucket. That's going to add a lot more rigidity and strength to this area where the hooks now reside. And you'll notice that I'm not welding the entire length of this steel. Instead, I'm just stitch welding, which means I'm laying about a 2 to 3" bead every 6 to 8 inches or so. Now it's time to get started on the snowplow part of this project. This plow right here originally was for an ATV. I bought it for $50 off of Craigslist. Here I am just cutting part of the subframe mount off because we don't need it all. Now I'm taking this piece of 3-inch angle iron that is 3/16 inches thick, and I'm taking one of the sides and I'm cutting 2 inches off of it. So essentially this is going to be a 1-inch by 3-inch piece of 3/16 inch angle iron when I'm finished cutting. Now one of the ways I make sure I cut in a reasonably straight line is I first make a pretty light cut on the top that leaves a nice straight groove along the top of the metal. And then after that, I will take another pass and cut it a little bit deeper and stay within that groove. And then I'll keep doing that until I cut all the way through. Now I'm welding that piece of angle iron that you just saw me cut onto the subframe of this old plow here. I'm going to be welding it right to those two cross members, welding both on the inside and outside, and then adding those gussets that you now see me welding to the rest of it. That gusset helps spread that the force that the plow is going to put onto the subframe, and it just spreads it out among that horizontal piece of angle iron. Now, all this dancing around you see me doing right here is I'm just trying to get into a comfortable welding position. One of the key components to getting a good weld is just simply being comfortable when you're sitting, standing, or kneeling. When I first started to lay this bead on the lower part of that gusset, I just was not comfortable. So now you see me trying to find a different position, moving my hose around, and then ultimately getting comfortable and putting a nice bead down. Sun's starting to go down, so I'm just fighting time here, welding on some of the final pieces to this project. What I'm welding here are these two pieces of rectangle with holes drilled in them. That's how I'm going to hook up a ratchet strap or a chain from the plow going to the hooks on the top of my front end loader bucket.
So here is the finished product of the modification to this snowplow. This snowplow started, as I mentioned earlier in this video, as a $50 purchase off of Craigslist. The snowplow is a 5-foot snowplow originally for an ATV, and I've modified the frame. So this is all the welding that you just saw. Let me show you how easy this connects to our tractor. As you can see, that's all it takes to mount this snowplow to the front end loader bucket of this garden tractor. Let's go take it to an unplowed area of this property and see how it works. As you can see, this snowplow modification works great. We didn't get very much snow recently, but as the New England winter rolls on, we'll be dealing with a lot of snow. Typically, we get well over 100 inches of snowfall every year. So at the next big storm, I'll show you how this does with some real substantial amount of snow. Until then, please check out our website at iSaveTractors.com. In addition to doing all these fun YouTube videos, we also develop and sell high-quality aftermarket parts for your vintage small engines, as well as your old garden tractors. My name is Norman. Thanks for watching.